that doesn't sound right to me. Orpheus, I think it's the Orpheus Club. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. 100% hands up at 8. We're getting into the Laurel and Hardy box set once more with We Faw Down from 1928. It's a silent short comedy that is the short that Sons of the Desert was based on, and it is pretty much the exact same story. And in this one, Stan and Ollie want to get out to a card game, poker game, and the wives obviously won't let them. At the start of the movie, they're sat in the house and the wives are playing cards at the dining table. There's a phone call goes into the house. Stanley answers it. It's the guys looking to know where they're at, and Stanley lets Oliver go onto the phone, and Ollie, not wanting to let on what's happening in the conversation, starts to make up stuff. It's like, hello boss. Yes boss, we would love to boss. And he makes up the story. Stanley realizes straight away what he's doing, and he's like, the boss wants us to go to the Orpheus Club, I do believe it was. For some reason, I'm only after watching it too, and for some reason that doesn't sound right to me. Orpheus, I think it's the Orpheus Club. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. 100% hands up at 8. But I believe that's what it is. So they go out, they're on their way down to this club, well, it's not really that clear if the card game is at that club or not, but Oliver is like, we're going to this club. Off they go. They don't make it to the card game. Before they get there, they come across 2 flirty women, and the women are sitting on one of these benches where you can get your shoes shined and cleaned up, and the guy that runs it turns on a fan above the 2 women because they're hot, and the fan blows one of the girls' hats off, and it flies out onto the street just as Stan and Ollie's passing and goes underneath a car. And of course, being the 2 gentlemen that they are, they decide to help the woman get the hat back. So Stan and Ollie go to push the car out of the way so they can get underneath it to get this hat for the woman. And as that's happening, a truck comes down the street, one of these street cleaning trucks, blasting water into the street, and as they push the car forward, the whole side of the street fills up with water. They fall on their face into it, and the woman offer Stan and Ollie to go back to their house to get their clothes dried off. So off they go, innocently enough, and they're in the house. Long story short, they're stripped down, their clothes are drying in the bathroom. They're in the sitting room chatting. Of course, the girls are trying to flirt around Stanley and Ollie, and nothing's happening. But during this, the husband of one of the girls comes back, or the boyfriend, pulls a knife on Stan and Ollie. Sorry, jumped ahead of myself. While this is happening, the evening newspaper comes out, and the Orpheus Theatre has burned down. Okay, so the wives, Stan and Ollie's wives, leave their house. They're running to get to the theatre to find out what's happening. Back at the flat, this guy's pulled a knife on Stan and Ollie. They have managed to escape, jump out the window, but as they do, their wives happen to be walking down the street, catch them coming out of the window of this woman's house, and one of the girls is there, and she's, throwing them their clothes and whatnot, and it looks really sketchy, like 2 guys jumping out of a flat into the street, putting their clothes back on. The wives, of course, think the worst. They disappear off back home. Stan and Ollie arrive back, and of course, just like Sons of the Desert, they turn up, try to start explaining what a great time they had at the theatre, what a great show it was. And the wives don't believe it for a second, but they don't let on that they know that the theatre burnt down. So the two wives are sitting on the couch in the middle of the room. Oliver's sitting at the piano. He's come up with all these different excuses, and Stanley is sitting behind the wives where they can't see what he's doing, and the newspaper sitting right there, and like, he's seeing these different ads and he's seeing all these different things, like, you know, to come up with ideas for excuses of where they were at, what the show was, how the show went and everything. So he's making all these gestures to Oliver, like, you know, this is what we've seen sort of thing, but Ollie keeps messing it up. And it is a genius sequence that Stanley would say one thing, he's doing like gestures and whatnot. Like, I'm trying not to do this visually on the episode here because this does go out as an audio podcast as well, but he's doing things like a performer on a bicycle, and he's doing the gestures of like in the air with the hands up, and he's got the feet in the air, and he's, you know, pedaling and whatnot. And seeing it on screen and that gesture that he does, completely obvious what it is, you know, you would get it a mile away, but instead of Oliver going with a bicycle performer, he comes up with a Russian dancer, because they do a similar gesture and whatnot. And the more Stanley tries to give him different things, the more he screws it up, and that's not making sense. And eventually Stanley realizes, sees the headline on the newspaper that the theatre burnt down, and this is when they're up to their elbows in excuses and lies of where they were at and what they were doing. And he holds the newspaper in the air behind the wives, and Oliver sees it and he starts to panic, and he sits down and he has that whole guilty, caught out look on his face, and then he does the Oliver smile, you know, sort of thing, and he goes, that's a good job we went to the Royal instead of the Orpheus. Stanley bursts into laughter in the background, and Oliver's kind of like trying to shush him, like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And Stanley loses it. He can't go on with it any longer, and he's like, I could have come up with a better one than that. And yes, by the end of the film, one of the girls turns up at Oliver's door, knocks the door. Oliver answers it, and she reaches in his vest that he forgot to bring home with him, and that's pretty much where it finishes off at. Well, sorry, there is a sequence at the end of it where the wives, you're expecting, like Sons of the Desert, there's a lot of cutlery been thrown at Oliver at the end of the movie, but this one here, one of the wives actually pulls a shotgun on him. Stan and Ollie run out of the house, and they run down an alleyway between two buildings, and you can see like 2 floors of windows and whatnot, and they're running down the middle of this, and the wives come running in, take aim, shoot after Stan and Ollie, and as the first shot goes off on the shotgun, this bodies start bailing out of either building into the streets, like men in their underwear and whatnot, you know, like other husbands that are obviously out cheating their wives sort of deal. Now, I can't recall if I had seen this one before, but at that ending, I'm pretty sure they have done that in another film somewhere along the line. And if not, I probably have seen this, but it's just been that long ago that it's left in my head. Like, none of it really rang a bell for me. But again, it is the film that Sons of the Desert is based on, so everything that happens in it is just screams Son of the Desert. And again, that ending sequence might have been done in an hour film, might not have been, but anyway, you know, I find quite a few of these short films they're good, but I've found that the vast majority of them aren't as good as the feature-length ones. Although in saying that, you've got Bratz and you've got the Music Box and stuff like that there. They're absolutely phenomenal, but you know, I tend to kind of drift towards the feature lengths more than the short films, and like a lot of the really, really old ones you know, pre-teaming up together as Laurel and Hardy weren't as good, but this one here, this is them and their partnership hitting their stride. It is very, very good. I would highly recommend it. Go and watch it, guys. That's time well spent.